Hey y'all, hope you're doing good today. So, I've had a topic on my mind for a while, I guess a few weeks, and I haven't really gone into talking about it. I'm not sure why. It's a pretty simple topic, and I thought, why not today? so, so here it is, and hopefully you find value in the message. So, I have this concept of, you know, making it a thing. What does it mean to make it a thing? And you can apply this to just about any situation. And basically, what comes to my mind is that, as we go along in our life, all these random things happen, okay? And then, of course, there's the debate. You can be super philosophical and just break everything apart and all this stuff, right? Sometimes that can be a little nauseating. I'm a deep thinker. I truly like to dive deep and pick things apart, but there's a healthy limit to that we should impose on ourselves, I think. Otherwise it just starts spinning and you're going around in loops and circles, and you come back to where you started hours later and you're like, why did I waste all this time thinking about all this? Okay, so ultimately, making it a thing, here's what I mean. As life happens to us, or you might say for us, as you go along in life and you experience all these different things, we have a choice. And I think that I've mentioned this before. I think that we live our lives so automatically most of the time that we're not even conscious of the fact that we have a choice. But the choice is that, it's kind of weird, my phone just flashed like a picture. It's kind of strange. But it's almost like we have a choice that we're not aware of, where we can make a situation, a conversation, a statement made, even if it's not directly to us. It could be a statement made by someone we know, that maybe it's on something we feel passionate about. Maybe it's just anything that you hear or see. It doesn't even have to be personal. If it's just in your vicinity, okay, or it comes across your path, even whatever it is, we can let it affect us, okay? But we don't often perceive it as us letting it affect us, because that sounds like a choice to let something affect us. It's kind of like we perceive it as it happened to us, or it just happened, and the automatic unconscious response is more of a reaction inside of us. Even if it never comes out, even if we never vocalize it, it can still be a silent reaction inside of us, okay? So all these different things in life can incite emotions within us, and it can, prompt us to dwell on, all kind of different things, our past, our beliefs, just the situation itself. And ultimately, it can become front and center in our mind and heart. And so what has happened a lot of times, and this just kind of can happen automatically. Again, we don't even perceive that there's a choice. It's kind of like it just happens, and it feels like it's a big thing now in our life. It's a thing. It's an ordeal. It's bothering us. It's just the focal point of our experience, okay? And that's what I mean when I say making it a thing. We can take our power back. You hear that a lot with self-help books and coaches and stuff, but really it's a probably a different way to say it, but one of the main ways to say this is to take your power back. We can in fact do that by simply looking at things consciously, and all we have to do sometimes is just ask a question. If something pops up and you are examining even just yourself within the situation that's happening. If you can detect that you are having an emotional response, emotions are, to me, they're messengers. And, the problem that we run into is we oftentimes don't listen to them. We don't examine them. We just let them take us for a ride. And when we do that, we're not in the driver's seat. And so there's so many different clues that can signal for us to pause and examine the situation. So when you take your power back, if you are able to self-examine, you can say, okay, I can tell that this is bothering me. Instead of going into, here's two things that can happen. Because once you acknowledge that there's a choice within you, that's the seat of power. And this is not from me originally. This probably came from thousands of different people, or more, millions of different people who felt like this concept was original to them. But and that's another whole tangent I could run off. People who claim that they're the first to develop something. I mean, how do they know? The Bible says there are no new things under the sun. So how do you know you're the only person in the whole world that ever came up with something? That's just, But for me, the first thing that comes to mind is Viktor Frankl. His book, Man's Search for Meaning, it really made an impression on me. And that was, his whole point in the book is that we have a choice no matter what our circumstances. And he went through horrific circumstances. So nobody can, judge him for bringing up this topic and say, well, you don't understand what it's like to, suffer and be under those circumstances, because he does in fact understand what it's like to suffer. If you read the book and you know his background. So, but even in all the things he went through, he, felt compelled enough about the importance of this to write a book about it. And that is the fact that we have a choice in every moment of how we're going to respond to life. And it doesn't even, again, have to be outwardly. It can just simply be internally, inside how we respond. Because I think a lot of our problems are, I don't want to say self-imposed, because if you don't know you're doing it, you're not conscious of this, then you can't really blame yourself. But I think the work to be done is just to become more and more conscious, more and more self-aware. Because when you do that, not only are you going to be more kind to other people and considerate of other people, but you're also going to be kinder to yourself. And the reason is you're not going to be taking all these things that happen in your life and just, not recognizing that you have a choice, and just having these automatic mental layers of, stories and meaning that the mind can just layer on top of whatever this initial little seed was that happened. And as we unconsciously layer on all these levels of meaning and story and about this one little thing, then we can wind up with suffering. And that's what I mean. It's like we make it bigger. We expand it. It becomes amplified. Even energetically, and we start to feel it even more, the impact of that even more, and we can stress ourselves out even more. And what if something happens, and as you're working on becoming more conscious, what if we don't really know what to do with a situation, but we're at least conscious enough to catch ourselves as we're starting to layer on you know, different layers or levels of meaning and story and stuff that we're going to wind up judging ourselves, judging others, just making it a big thing. If we can just stop ourselves in that process, even if we don't really know what to do with it, what if we just kind of turn our attention elsewhere? I think that most of the time we'll find that this whole situation just sort of dissolves into the ether, and suddenly it's like just a faint whisper of a memory. So to me, I just think that one of the biggest things we can do in this school of life is to just work at becoming more conscious of ourselves, and I think that that will be a big step towards peace. And that's something that we can in fact do. No matter what our circumstances are, we can do that. And you know, it's interesting because I felt like I told you, I've been thinking of this concept of making it a thing for, you know, weeks. But yet, as I'm talking through all this, I have this faint memory of listening to someone recently talking about choice, and I have no idea who it was, what channel it was, or where this came from. So otherwise I'd give credit, but I have no idea. And that's another thing too. I think it's interesting. I think a lot of times, like Carl Jung, you know, what he proposed with there being a collective unconscious, I think sometimes a lot of us, even on different sides of the world, can have the similar inspiration or thoughts arise at the same time. And there's been studies done on that too. I think there have been inventions even that have happened on opposite sides of the world from people who didn't know one another, and it was like within, you know, weeks time. And so there's something there, and I love that. I love mysteries to this experience. But and I'm sure you probably, if you like to, you know, be a deep thinker and examine things, you probably noticed that too. But anyway, that's just one simple thing you can do to bring more peace into your life. It's just to try and be self-aware when random things happen. Just catch yourself if you notice that you're starting to layer on stories or create a story around it, because when you create a story around a happening, then it's making it a thing. So I hope this helps. I hope you found it valuable. I'd love to hear your thoughts if you feel called to share. Thanks so much for coming along to hear the message, and I hope that you have a beautiful day. I'll talk to you again very soon.